Hello everyone, this is Victoria from Blue Hen Arts. I'm going to do some things in front of the my orchids, Chinese orchids, for our online class. We have some students. Linda, I'm answering your question. Ask for things about the different kind of the orchids, leaves and flowers. I have done some individual painting for individual orchids. And now I put them together by comparison. You can see more and more clear. For example, this one we call the Hui Lan, is February, with the long slender leaves. That's why it's bent. See, lots of bent places, but it's still alive. See. And the leaves with kind of it's narrow but very strong vein there supporting, so it's green, and the shape is kind of what we call V shape, so to make it very, very strong. This beautiful leaves for this February orchids, and the flower, you see, very strong, tall spike. Sometimes, see this part, I got only one spike. Sometimes you can got 2 or 3 spikes, stalks, whatever you call. And this stem and the flower. See, the total height for this kind of the orchids is higher than, we say, 出价, is higher than the outstanding from the frame. This is 出价, is the frame of the whole shape. In other words, this is the see, is taller than the curve, leaf curve parts. That's we call February orchids. And those are called Gorengi orchids. This flower, by comparison, much shorter. For example, this one, see the flower is like 50% bloom. It's blooming size, this flower, very beautiful, very fragrant. But see the height is very short. That's the matured. Probably while blooming, grow a little bit taller, but that's about the height. And this is also Gorengi. This is called Lian Ban Lan. A little bit some article, some the vein on the flower petal. Yes, this height is taller than this, and even taller. Still, not taller than the curve leaf curve part. Not taller like that. Only this taller. And also see this one. This one is kind of a wild thing from mountain. It grows. It's Gorengi, but tall, but it's very tall. Almost reach the leaf curve parts. I mean curve place, but not much taller than that. And this is very tradition. 龙字, we call like a dragon character, dragon last name person, famous of that. He grew grow it. This is gorengi, and this, see the leaves is slender and long, but actually shorter than the February we talked before. The flower, and actually there is a bud. If you zoom in, you can see there is a bud. Can you see that? It's a bud. It's a green. It's almost bloom. Yeah, the pot. And it will grow a little bit taller, but see, it start to bloom, opening already, so won't go too tall. And this size, this one, is also matured. It's not baby, but this is the gorengi as well. This is with the bud, as well. See this, the size for the leaves, and the size for the flower bud. The height, just this tall. It will grow a little bit taller, So those gorengi compare with the February. I think that's Linda's question. The February blooms normally after the gorengi. So in Chinese painting, traditionally, actually two kinds. They call this, because earlier February, March, January, February, March, during this early spring, this time, we call this spring orchids. So smaller, and the flower never be taller, outstanding taller than the leaves curve part level. Never. See, it's very short. And those blooming time is after gorengi. I think some scholar historically called this summer orchids. Actually, it's from late spring until summer. So generally indicate this kind of the orchids, Anthophyllum. The February. This kind of orchids called Xialan summer orchid, and the name is February. Only this with slender, slim, long, with bent leaves, and the flower spike, tall. And also, other point for the differences in between gorengi, spring orchid, and the summer orchid, February, is the flower number on the same spikes. Gorengi normally one spike, 1 to 2 flowers. However, this one got 1, 2, 3, 4, got 4 flowers. But this one, February, is very common. Same in one stalk. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Some people if you grow very well, or every year different, like 7, 8, 9, and some just simply call it 9 flower orchids. So it's this one, only this one, with this many flower on the same stalk, but not gorengi. Gorengi normally one stalk, 1 flower, or 1 to 2. This is kind of the special. I got 4 maximum. However, we also have this kind of Sinense orchids. is from very southern part of the China, like Hainan province, even from very popular in Vietnam. These orchids with multi flowers on the same stalk, and we call this synesy, but also call this announcing Chinese New Year, Lunar New Year, because during that time, the blooming time for this kind of the orchids. So these kind of orchids with wider leaves and one or two spikes, and the spikes are taller with multi flowers, very fragrant. Because of the blooming time, some people just call it announcing Lunar New Year orchids. However, we have other ensipholium. Those two are ensipholium orchids. Those are actually blooming in summer. Also, some people call that four seasons orchids. See this orchids, ensipholium. Now it's spring. We only got see the bulb, the new growth is coming. Can you see that? Yeah, because it's blooming in summer, so now it's just a new baby come out of the earth. This four season orchids or summer orchids, people call it blooming in summer. This from last fall, and see this guy is the seeding pot from last fall after blooming. There's lots of seeds there, and technically it's very hard for orchids to get the seeds and got the new sprouting thing. Very hard. That's technical thing, and almost impossible. If you without the lab or in the natural, it's very hard. But I like to see the whole process of that. I grow them. Each part I grow them in my backyard, and also I want to show you as well, because in the traditional painting, some artists, some scholars, they paint there. Sometimes you will saw this kind of things, so it's not fruits, it's seeding pot there. Normally, but in Chinese painting, only two big kinds, Gorengi, spring color, and February for they call it summer orchids, because blooming time after spring orchids, after Gorengi. So those two are very common in traditional Chinese painting, ink painting, and I'm not talking about the biology. I grew them, of course, but I just want to show you everything and answer online class students' question. And so mainly just to introduce you, explain things about those two kind, because there's something to do with the Chinese painting. So the proportion of the leaves, stalks, the spikes and the flower, and also those those stem, right? Those stem, you see, for the spikes, the flower connect, of course, with the stem to the spike, but the flower not far from the spike, right? So the stem, in other words, the stem is not very long. You wouldn't do the spike like that. And also the flower this far, that the stem this long. See the shape, the proportion. So I'm going to show you the real flower thing. Okay, now I'm going to demo a little bit, very basic about the orchids painting for the leaves and flower, but very freehand. Even if I in front of the real flower, but I'm not going to copy that very precisely. I just want to do, because Chinese painting for this, my husband has class, he has done, Henry, he has done that earlier time. It's in the Four Gentlemen, very basic training, basic basic exercise for the Chinese painting. So freehand, just for the line works, practicing. So it's freehand. Because we say very tough for the leaves. So normally when I paint, I always say I use hard bristle one, I mean the brush, to do the leaf, because leaf is very tough. This can maintain the alive for decades, you know, and every year like grow 1 to 2 growth. So perfect one should have more than 3 growths there, and some at least 3 generations there. The older one, after blooming, we didn't clear that, we didn't cut that, and even we cut, we do some taller one. Do not want to destroy the things, get too wet there. That's why sometimes you see some very old stock there, and most of them, they are for like a couple of years there, and some elder one, like 3 generations, some elder one still work and give the nutrients from the bottom roots, deliver them to the middle-aged one, for the parents one. So grandparents still give the nutrition to the parents, and for the kids, yeah, some young one, see the very short and the very straight, not very curved, right? Not very curvy. So this one is still growing, but not blooming size yet. Won't get any flower spots there. So normally, very different, 3 generations at least. So leaves keep their one leaves like 1 to 2 years, couple of years, very tough. Thoroughly wet the brush, and then touch some green, a little bit ink. We talked about like a very simple, basic thing. 3 strokes for the orchid's leaf, right? So 1 we call open the sky, whatever. Open the sky. See, by pressing gradually and then lift to change direction, to make the turning part, bend the leaf, right? And press again, and by lifting to do the narrower thing until the tip, the end. Okay, 1 stroke, 3 stroke. Okay, 1 stroke, first one to open sky, which means whatever you want to do. And the second one, oops, dropped these magnet things. The second one, I kind of help this, but make cross to make the phoenix eye. And then the third one, see the phoenix eye? And the third one, to break these eyes, which means, okay, that's very, very basic 3 strokes, kind of divide the space. Okay? So first, open the sky, and the second one to make the phoenix eye, and the third one to break the phoenix eye, which means to, cross it. That's very basic. See, this is very basic for the orchid leaves already. See them? Okay, and then you can put, some, of course, some longer, some curvy one, and some short for we're talking about for the young one, right? To help. You can do other group of 3, and some are very like a stiff one for the old stock, or old leaves. Yeah. Okay, that's the leaves for that. The structure like a 3 in a group, and for the individual leaf, if you want to do the exercise or for the practicing for the for your brush work, for the line quality, we say always like pressing, lifting, pressing, lifting, especially for the long leaves, for this kind of the summer orchids, February leaves. Very good exercise for your brushwork, line quality practicing. Okay, if you do this kind of leaf, long leaf, you need to consider like a more pressing gradually and lifting, make the long one more fun. Okay, I'll do that. Touch it and gradually press. See that? And the lifting gradually. And see, press it again, and lift it again, and press again to the end, lifting the air. Okay, this indicated, see, the change width of the leaves. Sometimes in the wind, or sometimes the side view of the leaf are narrow, right? And sometimes when you change the direction, it becomes different widths. So when we work on our brush, by lifting and pressing gradually to do that. And also we call that sometimes not the perfect curve, like a rainbow or like a railway road, not like that. Some kind of calligraphy stroke is kind of the squarish, and sometimes even kind of hard folding, instead of very smooth rainbow. That not calligraphy stroke. Okay, I will do more. So first, open the sky, and then second, to do is make the phoenix eye from whatever. Okay, gradually and see, you can do many times of a press and lift, press and lift. And the third one, phoenix eyes already, okay? Even very small here. Sometimes because the curve become earlier. And the third one need to break. See, this also 3 strokes. And do some more. See, this is already if you want to minimum it, right? So I will do some more to help it. Of course, overall, you need to think some sparse, and some density, and some longer, some shorter, some more stiff one is really stiff sometimes, yeah, because after fall or after winter. And then I will do flower and spikes. Try to do this as the shorter gorangi, the spring orchid. Okay. Not really showed for the spikes for the spring orchid. So, and very green. This green, normally I use the gamboge yellow and the indigo blue to mix them, make the green color. Do one here. Shall I do one here? Normally we do 3 in the center. And 2 outside. Actually, for the stroke like that. So for the real flower, actually 3 spikes. I mean, sorry, flower. 3 petals outside, and 2 arm like holding, embracing forward. So totally 5 petals. And without some center, like very free hand, to indicate that there is something. We do not really do the specific, the tone part, and the specific shape, or the article for that. We just dot the center. And the center normally with the red color, or some people just ink painting use the very dark ink dots. So it's one flower. Why don't I do another one? So totally 5 strokes, and you do like the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But normally people consider like three sparks in, three petals in center, 3 strokes, and 2 of them free outside. So this looks orchid. So towards this side, and I would do the other ones very short. I do the other one here. Okay, then spikes with a little bit amber color, because the green and a little bit amber color. I'm using Chinese watercolor marine color. We have chip and tube. For the tube, for the tube you can just do squeeze out. And for the color, you need to spray that, or sometimes previously I used the water drops to get water in and soak them a little bit. And this is actually overnight leftover color. I spray them to get wet first. Okay, for the spikes, I just very. Very small leaves there. Okay, that's about the proportion for the gorengi. See this kind of things? Flower stalk, spikes, and the whole leaves, the whole shape, whole proportion. See also this with the bud already. How tall? This the size. Okay, and I will dot the center. I use rouge red. For the flower petal, I think I just used the same brush. Did that because I used the same kind of color, spring color. Yeah. Normally I use this soft bristle brush to do the flower petal. It's very easy to handle it with the other different color, or you can flower petal is soft, right? Softer than the leaves. However, the spring, the gorengi flower is kind of thick and very like the waxed things, very thick, very tough. So I just use same brush, but normally you can use the softer one, the soft bristle one. And I use leaf vein brush to dot the center thing. I use rouge, the red one. And dot, normally we do 3 or 4. Very freehand dot, calligraphy stroke, just indicated, and with connection of those dots, like talking each other. See, with some connection, not very. Not too over scattered everywhere. Just 3 or 4, but talked each other. Yeah, like that. Just indicate that. Okay, that's the gorengi spring color. in Chinese painting traditionally. And this one we did leaves already. I will try to do the taller spikes like that, and the same spikes with more flowers. So in before the stock, I try to put one flower first, and then I can let this flower on the first layer in front. Like same way to do the flower 5 petals and the center thing. But this can be a little bit wrong, sometimes different, a little bit different shape for the flower. Some are really a tip top, like a bamboo leaves shape, and some are a little bit rounded. I'll try to do some rounded. We talked about once I painted. So the brush work do a little bit like back and forth. So on the opposite and then back. So for the opposite and back, opposite and back. So that's one flower there, and I will do the spikes like that. The reason I do that first is I try to keep at least one flower is really in front. So later, yeah. So before do the spike, before do the spikes. So the spike with a little bit amber color. See, it's spikes strong, but in wind, like back and forth. It's vertical shape, but in the wind, to keep the balance, not like the ruler straight. Okay, now because of the color thing, for the flower petals, I decided to use this other brush, actually this soft bristle brush, thoroughly wetted first, and then do the yellow, gamboge yellow, and then the indigo blue to make the green. So not far from the spikes, but you try to keep the whole thing balanced and beautiful. What about here? Okay, that's about the flower petal. And then I will do some spike. I dip some amber color. So the stem part actually a little bit reddish, a little bit of amber color. This actually cannot really see. Okay, that's about the this thing. See this tall spike and with multi-flower, so it's above and stand out from the whole curve leaf part. Now I use rouge, red, Chinese rouge watercolor to dot the center. Same thing because it's freehand do things just to practice this. Some 3 or 4 dots to consider they have some connections, so they talk to each other. Okay, that's the basic things I want to do. Yeah, basically just some line, calligraphy line working. And there is the, we say 3 strokes, right? One open sky, second one make phoenix eye, and then break the eyes for the 3rd stroke. Of course, lots of strokes, and later you will see some eyes there, right? And there is a taboo. There's a taboo. You do not tie 3 strokes at the same point. At the same point, you don't do that. That's the taboo. Not beautiful, right? So that's considered a taboo. Do not do that. So otherwise, you can decide your things for the overall whole thing. Some eyes there, and some short, some long. And for the long, you need to do some pressing and lifting, and the turning part for the bend leaves, and to make more fun. Narrow one for the side view, and more straight one for the young shoots. That's all. So lots of funs. One of our students, Susan Tavush, she did very successful. Susan, she did very successful Chinese painting already for 1 to 2 years, and even published the painting for the calendars. And then she back to my class to learn calligraphy, and as she said, the 4 gentlemen, very basic class is very useful for the orchids. And also she back to the practicing lots of strokes from the painting the orchids. Because in general in Chinese painting, of course, line quality, right? Lots of lines. It's a line quality. It's very good in the orchids painting. And I think that's how much I want to explain the Chinese orchids painting. Why don't I just finish them and the whole thing for the painting? Because after painting, you still put the stem or something, right? You can always add something. I think here I want to a little bit more leaves here. So gambuge yellow and the indigo blue. See, later if I do the after flower painting, if I want to add the leaves, I need to do some like the interweaving thing. Okay, let's see. And sometimes we do this kind of leaves, see, with the curve like that, and eventually a little bit up. See, the tip at the end, a little bit up. We call this to holding morning dew leaves. In the real things, we do see something like that. See, these kind of things, a little bit like that, some shape, like that. So also, so you try to do things, see if you can handle the brush work at end, and it like that. I will do it again, show you. When it like that, and then so something like that. Do some a little bit older stock. Okay, I think that's how much I want there. And normally we do not do. Some people, if there is a rock, it's beautiful. And sometimes we do not do the bottom thing. I could do that, but I decided not to do that today. And I can sign for that. I will write the name for it. This I will write spring one, and this I will write the February one. This is the Gorangi one. So right here. 春蓝 spring. Chunlan. And this is February. This is called Huilan. And I will say my name. Anyway, I'll just show you everything to finish this painting. The Chinese Lunar Year, Rat Year. 庚子 and my name Wei Wei, Chinese name. And also I will put my name seal. Seal paste, red. Make sure everywhere got the ink. And then use something underneath. I use the rubber pad. And if you don't have, you can buy from our website, or you can use like a magazine or some thickness thing to support it. And put it down gently, and then press it. Make sure everywhere each strokes touch the paper. Okay. And then hold the paper. Lift the seal. A little bit screwed, actually, it's shaking. Okay, that's the process. It's still very freehand, but I just showed you the whole process, and for the freehand, and in front of those flowers, the real flowers, very fragrant. I'm very proud that I grew successfully for this, and very fun process. And I do the painting, do the exercise, practicing in front of that, and I'm very happy, very glad, and I'm glad I got the opportunity to have them sharing with my student. And mostly actually today just for answer the questions for our online students for the proportion of the leaves and the whole shape, leaves and the flowers, and the shapes in the different kinds, the spring one and the summer one, and those two even with the seeding and with the bulb. Okay, thank you for watching, and happy painting. I will see you next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.